The vast majority of Christians, Sally, would be looking for peace rather than war, I feel. And there's a quote from Paul in his letter to Romans which says, "If it is possible, live at peace with everyone." So what's this idea of peace and pacifism? What's that all about?
So peace, as you say, is the opposite of war, and it's about living with other people in harmony. And not in conflict. So pacifism is a good example of how we can put these ideas of peace into action, really, but not physical or violent action. Pacifism is the idea that violence should never ever be used.
Okay, and one type of Christian that uses pacifism is Quakers.
Yeah, the Quakers. So they're a denomination of Christianity, and lots of other religions have pacifists as well. But for us and for the exam, Quakers is a really good example.
Yeah, and they still do a lot of work to try and stop wars occurring, but they do it in a non-violent manner.
Absolutely, yeah. So a really popular way of putting this point of view across and to stop wars from developing and starting, one thing you can do is obviously protest against it. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, we do have some examples of violent protest, but the Quakers and pacifists generally would always put in place more peaceful protests, so non-violent.
Good. So they would be looking to presumably try and forgive people, moving on, sorting out issues rather than trying to do anything violent. Would that be the case?
Absolutely, yeah. Key Christian idea shown to us in various ways, particularly through the example of Jesus, is to forgive other people, let go of the hatred or the blame that you have for them.
Okay, and also again in the letter to Romans by Paul, he says, "Do not repay anyone evil for evil." Yeah. And there are humanitarian organisations who go and try and help people who are obviously suffering in war-torn countries. Could you give me some examples of those?
Yeah, so lots of negative consequences of war that are going to affect various people, and these organisations are fantastic. You get a mixture really of non-religious and religious organisations that go and help on the ground the individuals involved. They also try to do some more long-term supportive measures to try and rebuild things that have been destroyed, infrastructure and communities, as well as kind of buildings, etc. The best example to use for the exam, I think, would be Christian Aid, because they'll be looking for a Christian organisation, and we've come across that one already.
Okay, lovely. And I suppose they'll be using Jesus' teachings such as love your neighbour as yourself, and also the parable of the Good Samaritan, to show what we should try and do to support other people who are in need.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, they're going to be following the example of Jesus, so that's the best way you can show that.
So it's all about justice, bringing back fairness to a situation.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sounds good to me.